We're all living in America, America, America. I'm David Dunning, professor of psychology at the University of Michigan. I'm famous for studying how well we follow the old Greek dictum to know ourselves. And the answer is we really don't know ourselves all that well. We overestimate our skill, we overestimate our character, and in perhaps my most famous finding, incompetent people tend not to know that they're incompetent. What we did is we gathered college students and gave them pop quizzes on logical reasoning, or on grammar skill, or on their sense of humor, and basically asked them to rate how well they thought they were doing relative to how well they were actually doing, and just did a simple comparison. And what we found is that most everybody in the room thought they were doing above average, which is impossible, but that's a common finding in psychology. But the real finding was that people performing poorly had very little insight into how poorly they were doing. They were almost as confident in their responses as were the people who were acing the tests that we were giving them.
Stars are on the American flag.
5.
How many stars is on the American flag?
Shit, we got 13 colonies, so 13 minus 50. 13 minus 50, goddamn, 47.
We're only interested in winning the argument, in cherry-picking facts to support our beliefs, in citing information, accurate or not, that supports our point of view.
Some people define the Dunning-Krueger effect as that which prevents you from understanding that you're subject to the Dunning-Krueger effect. That is, we can see the errors, the mistakes of other people, but almost by definition, we can't see our own errors and mistakes.
Ignorance is bliss.
One of my favorites is a person who stole GPS units from airplanes and forgot to turn them off as he drove off. So the cops just basically followed his GPS to find and arrest him. The royal road to self-knowledge runs through other people. That is, if you want to know yourself, you're really going to have to turn to other people. And that may mean you need to turn to other people for advice. It may be very valuable to get a mentor.
What's the last book you read?
I could not tell you, honestly.
Harry Potter, there we go.
I'm not reading any books.
No.
I don't read books.
No. Last book you read? I'm not doing this.
Well, I am reading... Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. What's a book name?
No, you can't get any help.
That we're no longer able to distinguish your wrong from your stupid.
Have the public schools in Michigan gotten better?
I don't know. Overall, I can't say overall that they have all gotten better.
The whole state is not doing well.
Well, there are certainly lots of pockets where the students are doing well.
Have you seen the really bad schools? Maybe try to figure out what they're doing?
I have not intentionally visited schools that are underperforming.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should.
Or it may be valuable just to watch how other people handle the same situations that you handle. You might find different ways to handle those situations and better ways to handle those situations. I think it's hopefully made me more humble as life has gone on. That is, I'm not as surprised when I make mistakes anymore. But according to my own effect, I really don't know.
Name an author of any book.
I'm blanking.
Read any books these days?
Not really.
Last book you read?
Last book I read.
What book are you reading right now? Reading any books these days?
I'm not reading any books right now.
When's the last time you read a book?
It's been a while.
Ignorance is bliss.
So just what is the Dunning-Krueger effect? Have you ever asked yourself a question like this: why do idiots think they are geniuses? Or another way of saying it, are stupid people too stupid to realize that they're stupid? Do stupid people walk up to the mirror and look in that mirror and see a genius? You've probably asked questions like this and joked about it before, but one of the questions is there anything to this? Let's go back in history and see what great thinkers have thought about questions like this or not, to see if is this just a joke or is there something real. Let's go back to 400 BC, when Confucius pointed out that real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance, pointing out the important fact that to have knowledge is to be able to know what you know and to know what you don't know. Plato, not long after, says, "I know nothing except the fact of my ignorance." He's not willing to accept what he knows because he knows too much about what he doesn't know to be able to do that, basically echoing what Confucius said. William Shakespeare, much later, says, "The fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool," introducing a new concept that the fools think they're wise, but also the wise men think that they actually might be a fool. It's starting to look like there's something to this idea. Charles Darwin: "Ignorance more frequently begets confidence than does knowledge." In other words, the competent people might be confident, but the more incompetent people actually might have more confidence than they do. Mark Twain essentially says the same thing when he says, to succeed in life, you need two things: ignorance and confidence. In other words, if you're not ignorant, you might actually not succeed very well because you might actually realize how hard it is. George Bernard Shaw: "Beware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance." In other words, thinking and being confident that you have knowledge when you actually don't is actually more dangerous.
I don't know. I don't know.
What exactly do you do in the Air Force?
I don't do anything. I'm a trophy wife.
I'm a trophy wife. Yes. Did you hear that? Really? What are you again?
I'm a trophy wife.
Bertrand Russell: "One of the painful things about our time is those who feel certainty are stupid, and those with any imagination and understanding are filled with doubt and indecision." Essentially saying that the incompetent people overestimate their abilities and the very competent people underestimate them.
In America, you have a right to be stupid if you want to be. And you have a right to be disconnected to somebody else if you want to be. And we tolerate it. We somehow make it through that.
What's the last book you read?
I don't read books, man.
What's the last book you read?
I don't read a lot.
No.
No.
Name the author of a book.
I don't know.
Any book.
Dr. Seuss. It's a good question. Let me think about it. I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of internet articles.
How many stripes are in the U.S. flag?
8.
8 stripes?
I think so.
You gotta be kidding me.
7.
7. You went from 8 to 7. I said more. You went back down.
4.
How many stripes are there on the U.S. flag?
5. 6.
I am depressed.
How many stripes are on the U.S. flag?
50.
You say stripes?
Yeah.
I don't think it's any.
Come on, man.
I don't think it's any stripes on the flag. It's only stars.
How many stripes are on the U.S. flag?
50.
Ignorance is bliss.
It's starting to look like something might be true here. And of course, we all know the expression, ignorance is bliss. So, let's imagine actually asking the question, is there anything to these claims? Are ignorant people actually ignorant of their ignorance? Or do poor performers poorly judge their performance? These are things that can actually be measured scientifically. So how would you go about doing that? Imagine you define performance in some way, some exam that you're going to give, and you have your poor performers down here, and you have increasing performance in this direction. And then, after the performance is done, the test is taken, you ask people to judge their own performance, to look back and ask, how well did you do? In other words, you do a test of their cognitive abilities, and then you have them look at their own cognitive abilities. In other words, you test their metacognition, their ability to judge their own thinking by thinking about it. Now, what should this curve actually look like? This is what it should look like. It should be a line that looks like this. People who think that they perform poorly, hopefully, are the people who performed poorly. The people who performed very well, hopefully, are the people that actually performed very well, and so forth. This is what the curve should look like. So if this joke and these quotes from all these great people are true, what we might imagine this curve would look like if we actually went and tested it scientifically is it might look something like this. The competent people are up here. They are perfectly capable of seeing what they're doing, but the poor performers think they're much smarter than they are, and they judge themselves to be up here where they actually aren't.
But say what you want about America, land of the free, home of the brave. We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country. Dumbass motherfuckers, you know?
So, enter Dunning and Krueger. They actually decided to test this scientifically. And the way they did this is with 4 hypotheses. The first hypothesis is the obvious one. Incompetent people tend to overestimate their skill level. Simple thing to test, that's the hypothesis. Second, these incompetent people also fail to recognize the actual skill in others. So when other people are not competent or more competent, incompetent people can't tell the difference. 3, the incompetent people are also poor at seeing just how extreme their incompetence is. So if you have a really, really bad performer, they don't know they're a really, really bad performer. They actually think maybe they're a good performer. They can't really tell. And 4, and this is the important one, if they get additional training, they will actually admit that they were unskilled. Looking back, they will say, yeah, you're right. I was not as skilled as I thought I was. That's an important one because it tells you that if you can actually train people to actually improve, if you can break them out of this cycle. Okay.
Any book.
I'm blanking.
Read any books these days?
Not really.
Who needs to read books when you can just skate through life on your looks, right?
Thank you.
Ignorance is bliss.
So here's the actual paper right here, published in 1999. All the details are there. You can go find it and read it and get all the gory details. Here's a summary. The studies were done with real people, so this is not hypothetical. This is actually science. This isn't just funny monkeys looking at Einstein in the mirror or quotes. This is actually tests that were done. They gave tests to subjects that were students. They gave different types of exams to them. And when they left the exam room, they were asked to assess their own abilities. They'd basically be asked, how well do you think you did on that exam? And sure enough, what the data show quite clearly is that the poor performers overestimated their performance. In other words, this appears to be true. This is the Dunning-Krueger effect, that poor performers tend to overestimate their actual performance. And I'll show the data in a minute. even when they were shown their scores, suppose their scores weren't very good, the more incompetent people judge themselves as having a higher relative rank to others than they actually did. So you have a poor performer, you show them their score is really bad, and you say, where do you think you rank relative to everybody else? They would typically say it was higher. So an example of this, of these two, is here, those in the 12th percentile, a very poor performance, placed themselves in the 60th percentile. They were at the very bottom and they put themselves above average. So it looks like, indeed, this is actually true. And that's why this phenomenon has actually a name, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Interestingly, the studies also showed something at the top, that the most competent people tended to underestimate their relative competence. As we saw in some of those quotes, people were observing that people that were quite competent tended to doubt themselves. And one of the hypotheses that has been put forward here is that for the most competent, the test appeared to be easy, so they assumed they were easy for everyone, and they basically ranked themselves along with everybody else. So, Dunning and Kruger referred to this phenomenon that they found through these scientific experiments a double curse. And here's why. This is what the curve should look like. And here is what it actually looks like. It looks like this. And what we see is the top performers slightly underestimate because they think it's easy for everybody. And down here, the people overestimate. And it's a double curse because the poor performers that are down here have the curse that they happen to be poor performers, but it's a double curse because they can't see it. They actually don't know that they're performing poorly. And they don't know that there are people up here that are performing much better than they are. And it's a dramatic effect. In the experiments, this number tended to be an overestimation of their abilities by 30 to 50%. And the curves tended to be flat like I'm showing here, so that even if you're a poorer performer, it didn't matter. You thought you were about where everybody else is. And this therefore confirms several of those hypotheses that they put forward. Here are some of the actual results taken from this paper up here. And here's some of the actual results. This is people that performed in the bottom 25% all the way through the top 25%. And they were asked, what quartile do you think you're in? And sure enough, those in the 12th percentile, in terms of the actual test performance, thought they were in the 60th percentile. And as you can see, the curve in this entire range right here is fairly flat. Whether you were 0th percentile all the way up to almost the 75th percentile, everybody thought they were in this range. It didn't really matter what their performance was. Over here, you can see it goes up. People start to realize that the more competent people were doing more competent work, but there's this slight dip because they think everybody is actually more like them. So the curve is quite flat. This is what it looks like in terms of raw scores. This is the score they actually got on the test. This is the score they thought they got on the test. And you can see that the top performers basically could figure out what their score on their test was going to be quite accurately. So that's actually the real data. One of the interesting things to think about is that there's the opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect can actually also occur, and it's referred to as the imposter syndrome. And what that refers to is that sometimes the people that are very competent don't trust that they should actually be as competent as they actually are, and they would actually put themselves much lower because they don't actually feel like they have reason to be as competent as they are. And so that's another interesting syndrome that you might have heard of. Okay, so why do you care about this? The Dunning-Kruger effect is extremely important. Let me give you one example of why that is. Later, some more experiments were done with men and women, and they were given a test on scientific reasoning. When they were done, they graded it, and there was no gender difference whatsoever in the results. Not too surprising. Men and women performed basically the same. However, the problem was the women reported a much lower self-assessment than the men did. And worse, afterwards, everybody was asked to participate in a very fun science competition, and the women declined much more often than the men did.
Can you name all of the oceans?
Oceans, Pacific, Indian, Atlantic. How many am I missing? Oceans?
What weighs more, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers?
Bricks.
What continent is Italy in?
What continent?
Yeah, I didn't do history.
History? What is the
I mean geography.
Asia.
How many sides are on a hexagon?
8.
How many sides are on the hexagon?
8? Or is it 5?
Name all 8 planets in the solar system. Go.
Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Earth, Saturn. How many was that? Pluto. Mars, Earth, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, Pluto.
I like how she said Uranus. 5 seconds.
I don't know.
Name all 8 planets of the solar system. Go.
Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn. How many is that?
That's 7.
Saturn.
5 seconds.
Uranus.
What does EYES spell? What's 13 minus 50?
13 minus 50? Negative something. I don't know.
And when a statistical analysis was done of this, it revealed that the self-assessment was correlated with whether or not they declined to participate in this science competition. So what does that mean? Is that women performed equally to men, but they felt like they didn't, and that made them enjoy it less, and they didn't want to participate in this science competition, which is really bad considering that every once in a while women actually win Nobel Prizes in physics. It's probably best to recognize that this is happening, and one can imagine doing something to communicate to these women that they're doing a great job and they should continue to participate. Okay, so there's some good news in all of this. The good news is you watch this video, and now that you know that, you'll go out into the world and you will probably see examples of the Dunning-Krueger effect all around you. More importantly, hopefully you'll see it in yourself. All of us are subject to the Dunning-Krueger effect, and we almost always will be making mistakes and judging just how competent or skillful we actually are. And now we might be a little bit more aware of that and be able to judge ourselves better and then be able to perform better where we want to and where we need to. The other nice thing about the Dunning-Krueger effect is it's not like IQ, which is mainly genetic, but it actually addresses a top-down effect that's just how we see ourselves, how we assess ourselves, and how we are able to step back and look at what we're actually doing. In other words, it can be changed. It's not fixed in stone, and that's great, because now that you know this, you can go and deal with it in your own life. The other nice thing is that the experiments show that to be able to estimate your ranking among your colleagues can actually be improved simply by acquiring more skills. So anything that you enjoy doing or need to do, go become more skilled at it, look back, realize that you weren't as skilled as you thought you were, and you will be a lot better off. So go practice. Later studies that were done to try to confirm the Dunning-Krueger results found similar results, but they also showed that typically poor performers don't understand that they need to improve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Good, good.
Good. I really need your help.
Okay.
I have a Mountain Dew addiction, and it's very serious. On a daily basis, I can drink like 5 to 6 cans of Mountain Dew. It's my wake-up drink, my breakfast drink, my just because drink, I need it right now kind of drink.
Yeah.
I've tried to quit cold turkey, Steve. I seriously did. But it's like in a few days, I'm right back at it. I just got to have the Mountain Dew. I'm not sure why I crave it. I don't know if it's the sugar, the caffeine, or both. You got to help me out, Steve. Have you ever had such a bad habit that you just couldn't quit?
Now, somebody said cigars, but it's not a nasty habit to me. It's not. No, it's not. Cigars are great. No, it's not. No, it's not a nasty habit. No, and it's not even a habit. I do it all the time because I want to. Give her who the hell did Dr. Oz get in here?
Steve.
What's wrong?
Steve, I came all the way from West Point, Mississippi. I have to get my piece in. Those cigars are bad.
No, who told you that?
I know. My daughter's a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. She knows.
Stand up, nurse. You give the nurse, because you ain't no nurse, give her the mic.
I am.
Do you know anybody that has died from smoking cigars?
Not from cigars.
Thank you. Stand up, mama. Stand up.
All right, Steve. But I have an addiction also. I'm a Facebook junkie. I'm a retired English teacher. I get on Facebook just to grade other people's posts. If there are any grammar that's not right,
any grammar ain't right.
Yeah, is it right?
I'm tell you right. Well, you better quit following me then. Because your ass, you're going to have to come out of retirement.
I correct you all the time.
Huh?
I correct you all the time. All day, every day.
Correct me for what?
Family Feud. Family Feud. These people want to win. They sell some money. Themselves some money.
These people want to win. These people do want to win. These people wants to win some money.
Not they sell some money, themselves some money. Themselves.
They want to wear what?
Themselves some money, not they sell.
They want to win themselves some money. I don't know them, they. They want to win themselves some money.
Themselves some money.
Themselves?
Yeah. I'm an English teacher. It bothers me. Makes my ears hurt.
That bothers me.
It bothers me. That's why I'm here to bother you,
Themselves?
Steve. I came all the way here to bother you.
Like, see, they drove here themselves.
Themselves.
No, they drove here themselves.
Themselves.
They drove here themselves.
Themselves.
No, not them. No.
Yes, they did, Steve.
No, they drove here themselves. And it's not even they, it's they. They drove here themselves. Who does that? Who does that? Why are you spending your life trying to use proper grammar when clearly that ain't necessary? That ain't necessary. Give her the mic.
It is necessary, Steve.
Why?
Because I'm an English teacher and it bothers me when you don't do that.
Look here. That's a note. Look at him. Look here. Look here. Everything I say. Everything I say gonna bother you.
It is. But I still love you. But
I love you too.
But I can correct you.
No, don't do that.
With you. I want to.
Don't do that.
But it bothers me, Steve.
I ain't finna talk no other kind of way. I ain't finna talk no other kind of way.
Not finna, Steve. Not finna.
See, you don't understand. Okay, let me ask you something.
Yes.
Which one of these sound best to you? I am broke or I'm is rich?
I am broke. I am broke. I am broke.
Even with feedback, and if you think about it, that's slightly obvious. if somebody's in the 12th percentile and they think they're in the 60th percentile, and you tell them they need to do better, they might think, hey, I'm doing better than average. Why do I need to improve? So the moral of the story is, whatever you're doing, just keep practicing. You might not be as good as you think you are, and certainly by practicing, you will definitely get better. Okay, finally, I just wanted to end with this interesting story. The Dunning-Kruger paper won the 2000 Ig Nobel Prize. And if you don't know that prize, it's given out right before the real Nobel Prizes are given out, actually at Harvard. And they honor achievements that first make people laugh. For example, the chimpanzee looking at Einstein in the mirror and all those quotes. But in the end, it makes them actually think. And then there might be something scientific to this, as this paper showed. And so for that, they won this Ig Nobel Prize in 2000.
To tell someone they're wrong is to disrespect them. It's an accurate representation of where we are today. That experts are derided as elitists, and that every opinion is now considered equal.
So what can you do about the Dunning-Kruger effect? Given that the major challenge in addressing the Dunning-Kruger effect is that we don't know what we don't know, this can be a tough situation to resolve. But there are several potential ways to avoid or minimize the effects, including rejecting the use of peer comparison. As an alternative, establish objective measures and solicit frequent feedback regarding your performance. This is a meta-decision whereby you actively scaffold your learning, comparing your performance today against your previous performance. This can help avoid the use of making peer comparisons. Next, break down a goal into the necessary subtasks, focusing on specific rather than general abilities. Research has shown that the more specific a task, the harder it is to maintain an illusion of being better than we actually are. For example, it is easier to make the general claim that you are great at using tools for home repair than it is to make the more specific statement that you are awesome with a power saw. Last, seek out qualified mentors. Note, these are not individuals within your peer group. These are credentialed professionals that can accelerate the learning process, providing formal instruction that includes objective and timely feedback. This allows you to make a quicker transition from novice to intermediate and then advance towards becoming an expert. In summary, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a form of cognitive bias that is largely a result of using peer comparison. When we compare ourselves to others, we risk the consequences of making inaccurate judgments of our own abilities.
What book are you reading right now?
I'm not reading any books right now.
What's the last book that you've read?
Can't recall.
What book are you reading right now? Reading any books these days?
I'm not reading any books right now.
When's the last time you read a book?
It's been a while.
Who needs books these days when we have the internet, right?
Right.
What book are you reading right now?
No books.
No books. Reading any books these days?
No.
Ignorance is bliss.
Some book? Hey.
Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks.
No cheating. Talking about books today.
Books.
Reading any good books these days?
Not really.
Who needs books when you can skate through life on your looks, right?
Sure, I guess.
Further, he says the country is not just poorly informed, but misinformed, obsessed with the worship of its own ignorance.
Any book?
I don't know.
Any author of any book?
I seriously don't know.
Okay.
Ignorance is bliss.
Name an author of any book.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
Oh, this guy knows what's up. That's a fantastic book.
Yeah.